How you doing today, John?
Hot.
Yeah, it is still pretty hot out here.
Yeah.
So I have been asked by a couple of our Wheelin listeners to help direct them to purchasing a new or a used vehicle. And actually, specifically, one gentleman is looking for a used vehicle and one is looking for a new vehicle and looking for advice on both sides. And since they're both mini trucks or smaller trucks that they are interested in looking for, being that this is episode 15, what do you think about talking about those options and maybe hitting on some S-10, S-15 GMC history?
We give it a go.
All right. Well, let's do that today.
It's time to hit the trail, lock in those hubs, and throw it into low range. Because you are listening to Wheelin' with Keith and Johnny Orange, broadcasting from the Thin Line Offroad Studio. They're here to talk about 4x4s, trucks, and everything to do with enjoying the great outdoors. Buckle up. Here's your hosts, Keith and Johnny Orange.
Well, welcome to Wheelin'. I am one of your hosts, Johnny Orange, and Keith and myself today are discussing small or mini trucks in the used and new fashion.
Yeah, the mini truck name comes out of the 1980s when manufacturers started downsizing, and really in answer to some of the foreign vehicles that were coming in, the Toyotas and at the time Datsun, which became Nissan, and Mitsubishi. Some of those smaller trucks came in, and these were reasonably priced small trucks that in many cases would do the job of a half-ton pickup truck, but for considerably less cost and would fit in your typical garage or parking space a lot easier. Way back when you and I met, you guys, your family, you guys had a red Dodge Dakota, did you not?
Yep.
I think you sold that to my dad, actually.
Yeah, it was the second vehicle I ever drove on the road before I got my license.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was actually, I think that was the very first thing I ever drove down an old back dirt road.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah.
I never knew that until this moment. Of course, you don't know what the second vehicle most people drive is, but
No. I know mine was the Project XJ Jeep.
How's that coming along this, part of our news here is always the Project XJ. How's that coming along this week, John?
It's good. I've got some of it cleaned off, working to reorganize the garage so I can start working on it again. It's been a few years since anything's been done on it.
But I thought you told me you were going to do more than dust it off this week.
Yeah, I'm moving parts around, kind of restaging the work area.
All right, so the parts Jeep that you brought in that you've been taking apart, have you figured anything from that you're going to steal for the project?
Where to start? We have got the transmission, of course, first off.
AX-15?
Yep, I'm still reevaluating the master and slave cylinder, if I can get the proper push rod for it.
Okay, shouldn't be a problem.
Track bar. There's some connectors I might grab off of it if it doesn't sell before I scrap it. Just the male and female side, just some big connectors because I know mine are kind of rusted out or rather corroded out in the brass contacts.
Are you stealing that winch bumper off of it?
No, I actually have another winch bumper. It's a kit that I've got to finish putting together for it. It's got a little beefier mounts than that does.
Oh, okay. All right. So I know you're selling a bunch of parts off of it, too.
Yeah.
So, like, if any of our listeners are interested in some lifted off-road XJ parts and they want to get a hold of you, can they just get a hold of you through 4x4 Talk or something?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
All right, cool. Well, that's pretty cool. What else in 4x4 news? You got anything else that's pressing that you can think of right now?
Not off the top of my head.
Yeah, the last couple of weeks we talked, we had a couple of deaths in the industry, Lee Iacocca and Rod Hall. Unfortunately, I'm not aware of any other deaths in the off-road world or the automotive industry right now. Yeah, it's a very good thing.
We need news, but we're not that desperate.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. So the only other thing that I can think about right now, we've been plugging it every week, is we have Wheels in the Woods coming up, which I'm pretty excited for.
Yeah.
We're gonna have a Power Wheels scramble race for the little kids, We're going to have an RC rock crawling competition.
I still think we need to get a dunk tank, but
dunk tank, yeah. That'd be pretty cool.
That would be.
Well, I mean, if we're going to do it with a vehicle, what do we do? Like borrow one of, Dad's septic trucks or something? And
Oh, I'm out. I was going to volunteer, but I'm out.
Oh, okay. All right. So that won't work.
No, we got to get something with a sunroof and just tarp up the sides and
Okay.
just fill it with water and go from there.
There you go. That could work. That could work. So I guess that's pretty much it for news. And this really isn't a news segment, but a couple of our listeners, as I mentioned earlier, you know what? I can just give them a shout out. So Casey Cross, who is the one that put us on the Pocket Cast app, he's considering. He had gotten a hold of me, and he's considering doing. Buying a new truck here maybe next year, and he's going back and forth between the Chevy Colorado ZR2. I guess there was another Chevy option that maybe has a diesel, a smaller truck.
That's cool.
And maybe a Toyota Tacoma. And so he's kind of just going back and forth between the pros and cons of each truck, and these would be a brand new truck. At the same point, I had another gentleman ask me about if I knew of any small pickup trucks for sale, in the used market that were in decent condition that he could use just to bomb around town in and just be four-wheel drive specifically for winter. And so he's concerned about like what is going to be a good buy in the used market. And typically, and I know, pardon me, I know the man, and typically, he buys vehicles that are in that, say, 10 to 15-year-old range, maybe even a little older than that at this point. So that's kind of what we wanted to talk about is some of these mini trucks and the mini truck fad. Besides the Dakota, do you ever have any other mini trucks, John?
No, nothing that I'm aware of. I know my dad had a truck before I came around, but I don't know what it was.
Well, I mean, you've said before on the podcast you were born in the 80s, and so unless he had a foreign truck or maybe a Chevy S-10 or a Ford Ranger or something, or a Dodge Dakota, then, he probably had a full-size truck.
Probably, yeah.
Being episode 15, it's kind of fun to sometimes play with the numbers. We had kind of considered, I know you and I had talked to each other about maybe doing the Chevy S-10 for episode 10, but we ended up doing the Jeep XJ instead.
Yeah. And
I really love that episode. I've gone back and listened to it twice now, and I really like how that episode went. So listeners, if you're interested in the history of the Jeep XJ, probably a really good idea to go back and listen to episode 10. But now we're on episode 15, and the brother to the Chevy S-10 in the early days was the S-15. So what did that mean? Did that mean it was 5 better?
I guess, yeah. Or 5 bigger.
Yeah, I always figured it had to be something like that. I never really understood, but I do know quite a bit about the S-10 history. I've had a number of them myself, and I have a sweet spot in my heart still for the Chevy S-10 and the GMC S-15 specifically, because my first Wheelin rig was a 88 GMC S-15 Jimmy with a 5-speed T5 5-speed manual, 4-wheel drive. I cut the fenders to fit a set of basically bald 33s on it and just wheeled the heck out of it and had a lot of fun with that truck.
Was that black truck you had at the old house?
Well, it was the 2-door one that I had. It was the 88, and then it got replaced with the 93 4-door that was also black. So they're both S-15 Jimmys, but the first one was a 2-door, and the second one was a 4-door.
Oh, so I don't remember which one it was.
The 4-door is the one that got the 1-ton axles and all that.
Probably that one then.
Okay.
You had the 37 or 36s on it or something?
Yeah, 36-inch military tires on it.
Yeah. That was a sweet truck.
Oh, thank you. Had a lot of fun with that. I think actually I posted it up on the 4x4 Talk page on Facebook as in the old Wheelin pick thread that we posted up.
Actually, its leaf springs live on in Project XJ.
You mentioned that before on the air, yeah. You said that you're using the rear ones for your rear, or okay?
Yeah, the rear leaf springs. If I remember right, we just cut the eyes off of the ones that were on yours and added the helper spring, bolted that to my main leaf.
I forgot completely about that.
Yeah.
I forgot we had done that.
Yep.
Well, that's Yeah, so that's good that something lives on. I don't think I have anything left. Well, no, the winch that I had on that, the Warren 8274, is now on my Land Cruiser.
Nice.
So I still have that.
Very nice.
Well, folks, we need to talk about mini trucks and get to where we're at today, and especially the S-10 and S-15. We need to kind of go back in time a little bit here. And we need to talk about the late 70s. The late 70s, the American pickup truck market was very large, bulky vehicles. You had your K10 Chevys, your C10 Chevys, your big Fords, F-150s, 250s, 350s, your Dodge Rams. These were all very sizable trucks, gas guzzlers. Fuel injection wasn't around yet. Diesel wasn't around in any sort of mass-produced capacity yet. There was a number of outfitters that retrofitted them, and there was some weird, like 1 and 2 year old diesel-only options. But for the most part, they were big gas guzzlers, big V8s.
They look nice, though.
They do, and they're all classic trucks now.
Oh, yeah. I love the look of those old trucks.
Absolutely.
Just square, simple.
Yeah,
I love it.
Well, that's what we grew up on. I mean,
yeah.
even though I'm a little older than you, we grew up seeing in the rural areas those old trucks driving around. So
there's still plenty of them out there too.
there is.
Yeah.
But new truck buyers in the late 70s, around 78, 79, even a little earlier, were starting to look for something more fuel efficient, especially like, tradesmen that maybe were doing a 200-mile commute per day.
Yeah.
Even though gas was a lot cheaper back then, it still was a cost out of their pocket.
Oh, yeah.
And Japanese manufacturers were the first mini truck manufacturers. They started bringing in the Toyota small truck. It escapes me. I think it was called a Brute. Was the first name they used, but
sounds right about that.
And then some of the other manufacturers, Datsun was another big one, and they started bringing in these small, foreign-built, Japanese-built pickup trucks. GM partnered very early on with Isuzu. They had a pretty good working relationship with Isuzu, and they partnered with them to make what they called the Chevrolet Love. Now, the Isuzu version was identical, different grille, different steering wheel, and it was called the Isuzu Pup. But, Chevy had the Chevy Love. And that was kind of their test into the waters in the mini truck market.
Yeah. It's a neat looking truck.
Oh, you got one pulled up over there?
Yeah, I've never, for some reason, I always thought the Love was a car.
Yeah, no, it's a mini truck.
Yeah.
You could get a diesel in it.
Nice.
4-wheel drive. They were very durable, very rust prone.
That I believe.
Not a lot of loves left.
Yeah.
But that was how GM tested the market in the United States, in North America specifically, to see if North Americans would buy small trucks with, the Chevy badge on them, or, a domestic badge on them. And they did. They gobbled them up. I don't know how many thousands. Do you have that number in front of you by any chance? How many Chevy Loves they made?
That I don't know. I actually just closed the page.
Oh, okay. Well, it doesn't matter. I'm sure it's in the tens of thousands. But Chevy then decided to design their own small truck at that time. But the early 80s was the beginning of the 80s recession. And they had to be very careful about how they were spending money. So in frugal, sometimes GM fashion, they reused a lot of parts that they already had. Specifically, they used, and this was in designing what eventually became the S-10. We already gave away that we're talking about the S-10 and S-15, which were, the S-10 and S-15 were identical trucks except for different badging, different grills, maybe a little bit different interior, but mechanically they were the same. So GM wanting to come out with these S trucks, they took their suspension components from their G body, which is like the Malibu and the Buick Regal. They took those components and they made a new frame that would also accept a 4-wheel drive system that was heavily copied from the Isuzu Love. And then they used their already 4-cylinder General Motors engine that they originally had, their 2.5, but they also had a couple other options like the Isuzu 1.9 and 2.0, and they also had the Chevy Citation V6, so the 2.8 liter V6. all within a few years here. They
A
came
lot of options.
yeah, a lot of different engine options. They came out in 1981 as an 82 model year. That first year was two-wheel drive only. 83, they brought in the four-wheel drive option, and
Nice.
the sales skyrocketed on the S-10 and the S-15.
I'll believe it.
So that was the beginning of what would become a small compact truck for General Motors, and that was their first time building a domestic truck here in the U.S.
Nice.
A domestic mini truck.
Yeah.
So, you guys never had an S10?
No. No, I almost bought one once for some parts.
Aren't you like a GM family?
No, Chrysler.
Well,
My
you got
dad
that
was,
Chevy truck you drive all the time.
Yeah, it was just a good deal. My dad
Oh.
retired out of Chrysler after 41 years.
Oh,
So,
okay.
yeah.
All right. Well, I
So
guess that
I've had
makes
cheap Dodge and Chryslers.
yeah. I guess that makes
I
sense.
think
I
we
guess
had
I would have
one
known
Plymouth
that.
Neon, and then the next one was the Dodge Neon.
Plymouth Neon. You can't wheel. Well, you can wheel in those, but you shouldn't.
No, we didn't. It was my dad's work car.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. So continuing on with our history here, and trying not to get into too much facts, but the S10 came out and was immediately successful. It was a little square body thing. In many respects, it looked like a downsized version of their half-ton and larger truck that they made.
Nice.
Very similar body lines. It's just smaller.
So I was noticing, looking at some of the pictures of them, there's one, I look right at it and say, that's my truck, but smaller.
Yeah, it really
Yeah.
does. They had a diesel engine that was optional in the very beginning. They're very rare.
Yeah.
I've only seen one in person in my entire life. I saw
Huh.
another one that originally was a diesel that they had pulled the diesel out and put a V8 in.
Oh, bummer.
But they had a lot of like little engine glitches and problems for the first few years. But
That would
then
explain all the options.
it does, yeah. And then for the 87 model year, they introduced the Chevrolet 4.3 V6, which had been introduced 2 years earlier in the Astra vans and half-ton trucks.
Nice.
So, that was really the turning point for the Chevy S10, and where it started to become a real contender and having a little bit of power and being a little more reliable, because those early engines were not really reliable.
Yeah.
And I think since that's a good turning point in the S10 history, that's also a good time for us to turn another point here, and we'll be back in a minute.
Sounds good. I got to take a break myself.
Hey, it sounds like it's time to swap out that old engine for something better, John.
Yeah, man, but I have so much into my trans and transfer case set up already. I don't want to change those too.
Sounds like you need to call Quick Draw Brand Adapters. They specialize in conversion bell housings for nearly all diesel and gasoline engines, including the new 2.8R Cummins.
I like weird engines up. I want something different.
Then you definitely need to visit QuickDrawBrand.com today. They have those hard-to-find parts. They also have used diesel engines available. You can call them at 513-446-9654.
Cool, I'll do that. See what they have. Thanks.
All right, so let's...
Welcome back to Wheelin. I'm Johnny Orange.
And I am Keith, Kodet of Thin Line Offroad. And we were talking about, we're trying to do like a brief history of the S10 and S15 to kind of get up to what our mini truck options are of today. But, like I said, we're talking about the S10 and S15 right now. We had left off at the introduction of the 4.3 for the 1988 model year in 1987. The 4.3 was basically a Chevy 350 or 5.7 liter V8 with two cylinders cut off. You can take out the 4.3 and you can just about bolt a V8 into these 4.3 equipped S10s. Same transmission, pretty easy swap.
That gives me some bad ideas.
Oh, there you go. I had a V8 swapped S10 years ago,
Nice.
and that thing was a rocket.
I believe it.
Pretty cool. So the last couple of years of the first generation S10, which lasted all the way up to 1993, really saw some great upgrades. They had the little S10 SS, but most importantly, in the GMC S-15 line, they came out with what was called the Cyclone and the Typhoon. Have you heard of those?
I've heard of them. Aren't those weather conditions in the warm water ocean regions?
Yeah, absolutely. It's like a southern, like Lake Michigan thing. Is that what you're thinking?
I'm thinking more south, like around the coast of Florida.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Yeah.
So the Cyclone and the Typhoon were factory-built super trucks, and they were really the first of their kind. Of course, prior to that, they had some muscle trucks like the Dodge Little Red Wagon, but these were factory all-wheel drive super trucks.
Nice.
They retained the 4.3 V6, but they ended up getting intercoolers and a turbocharger and all sorts of little tweaking. And at the time, they were the fastest production pickup trucks in the world.
That's awesome.
And they actually hold that record with many different ones. There are ones that have beat it since, but they are considered to be one of the fastest production pickup trucks of all time.
Cool.
They even raced a Chevy Corvette and beat it at the drag strip, which was kind of what killed it because Chevy came down and said, we can't have a GMC pickup truck being faster than a Corvette. So,
yeah, that's a bummer.
at least that's the rumor.
Yeah.
I've read that and heard that several times. But the first generation, their swan song was the Typhoon and the Cyclone. They had a body package, a little bit lowered, all-wheel drive, pretty darn special interior, pretty cool. Big Cyclone or Typhoon enthusiast. And you would never think of this, is old Mr. Dirty Harry himself, Clint Eastwood.
Huh.
He has one, and
Nice.
It's like his favorite vehicle. So, 94 model year. They redesigned the S-10 and the S-15. At this point, they dropped the S-15 name, and they use a package name that they'd already been using for a couple of years called the Sonoma.
Okay.
And so the S-15 is gone, and now it's called the GMC Sonoma. So, technically the S-15 was only a one-generation vehicle.
Yeah.
But they continued on, and a lot of people still called the Sonoma an S-15, even though they technically weren't that. The second generation, which is the final generation of the S-10 and S-15 platform, ran all the way up to 2004 for North America. And they actually still make it till present in Brazil, or at least a couple of years ago. But in
That'd be a third generation of it?
same vehicle,
Oh, nice.
just the different sheet metal on the front
Nice.
and rear. It's based off of the Isuzu pup version that they have down there.
Check that out. That sounds kind of cool.
Yeah, neat little vehicles. I'd wish they'd kind of bring them back, but of course the S10 was eventually replaced with the. I guess going back, the first generation eventually you could get as a SUV, so they call it the S10 Blazer, and then the S15 Jimmy.
I was wondering what the difference was.
Yeah, those were the SUV versions.
Nice.
Same thing with the Typhoon and the Cyclone. The Typhoon was the truck, the Cyclone was the, or might be saying that backwards. Well, one was the truck, one was the SUV. And you looking it up right now?
Yeah, I'm going to try to see if I can
what
find
the
it
heck?
real quick.
Yeah, they're pretty cool. But
The Cyclone was a performance package for, it's like regular cab, short bed, two-wheel drive.
yeah, so the Cyclone was the truck, and yeah, they were regular cab only. They did not get extended cabs.
Yeah.
And then the Typhoon was the SUV.
Yeah.
So they were very cool little vehicles. Second generation didn't have these cool turbocharged, crazy variants. They had some body package, the sport packages. What they did do, though, for the off-roading pardon me, frog in my throat again. For the off-roading enthusiasts, is they introduced the ZR2 package. The ZR2 package was essentially a factory 3-inch lift kit.
Nice.
Larger tires, I believe they were 32 inches. 33, 31, 31. 31. You will just correct me over the air. The listeners can't hear you
I was trying to
signing.
make a quick note.
31 inches. I believe they had a locking, or at least a limited slip rear differential, skid plates, tow hooks, and that was General Motors' introduction into the small sport truck enthusiast market.
Nice.
And so So we said the S-10 and S-15 were eventually replaced by the Colorado and the Chevy Colorado and the GMC. What's the GMC version of the Colorado? I forgot what that's called.
Oh, that's going to bug me.
You can't think of it now, huh? Neither did I.
Sonoma?
No, I don't think they used that
Yeah,
anymore.
I'll find it.
Yeah, see if I can find it before you. So,
That's not fair. I'm not prepared for it.
well, I didn't even think of it. I think there's a GMC version, the Canyon, the GMC
Yes,
Canyon. That's what it was. I had it on the tip of my tongue as well.
Yep.
I kept wanting to say like Arizona, and I don't know why Arizona. I'm like, there's no such thing as an Arizona pickup truck,
But there's canyons there.
there's a canyon in Arizona. That's where it was in my mind.
Yeah.
I was associating it somehow. Anyways, back to those. So they're still making the Chevy Colorado and the GMC Canyon, and they are, they're coming out with some packages now. You can get them with the 2.8 inline 4 diesel now.
Ooh, sweet.
Exactly. You can get them with selectable locking differentials in the ZR2 package.
Cool.
Are they a Jeep Wrangler or Rubicon competitor? I don't think most people would say that, but the technologies are getting better.
Yeah.
And what they're offering the general public is getting better. So, that's it's nice to see that they're doing something in that mini truck market.
Oh, yeah.
For the 4x4 enthusiasts. Because up until a few years ago, mini trucks were, basically the lowrider market. Mm-hmm. So, and that was a huge thing too. But
yeah, I'd love to get that old Dakota back one day. That was a cool truck.
I think it got crushed, John.
That's disappointing.
In fact, I'm almost certain it got crushed. I think we took it to the junkyard after the trans went out for the second or third time.
Yeah, it did that to us once too.
Yeah.
That was disclosed before you guys bought it.
Yeah, I know. We put a brand new transmission in it.
Yeah. Remember you telling me about that.
Yep. So, back to let's start with our first question. The gentleman that's been asking us about a used truck, used mini truck, small truck. Now, obviously, we didn't cover all of the options for used. We didn't cover the Ford Ranger. We didn't cover the Dodge Dakota. We didn't cover used Toyota Tacomas. But that's basically in North America, that's what you're looking at. You're looking at the big three mini trucks, and then you're looking at, like Toyota and maybe a Nissan. In your experience and what you're seeing on the market today, if someone's looking for a 10, 15-year-old used mini truck, what do you think you would recommend them to buy?
It's kind of a loaded question. I mean, I've seen a lot of Rangers in the S-10s out there. Mm-hmm. Speaking of.
Oh, what? Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
I'm more familiar with the domestic vehicles, of course.
Okay.
So I mean, probably one of those or a Dakota.
Okay.
I mean, I think the Dakotas are a bit older models than those. I don't remember when they stopped making that.
No, they made the Dakota all the way up into the early 20-teens.
Cool.
I don't think they ever made the Ram Dakota when they switched over to the Ram name. I think is when they dropped the Dakota.
Oh, that would make sense.
Because they went from Dodge trucks to Ram trucks.
Yeah.
I would kind of tend to be with you there. The Dakota, I don't know that I would look for.
I've definitely seen more S-10s and Rangers.
Yeah.
So your parts availability, what you can still get new, what you can get used.
I would tend, as much as I'm a Ford truck guy, and I drive a Ford truck every day, I think I would tend to steer them towards the S-10 or S-15 or even the Colorado. Because like you said, you see a lot of them out there.
Yeah.
Parts are cheap. Especially if they get one with the 4.3 V6.
Oh, there's tons of those things.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Later, the Colorado got the inline 5, which wasn't a bad engine.
Yeah.
But
A friend of mine had that one.
Yeah. Was that the black 4x4 he had?
No, blue.
Oh, okay. Jason?
Yeah.
We don't need to name and last name, but he had I thought it was black for some reason.
No, his dad has a black Dodge.
Oh,
but he
okay.
used to have a blue Colorado that we put, I think it was a 2-inch lift and level system and 32-inch tires on.
Gotcha. I think I remember that.
Yeah, we took it up to Silver Lake. It did pretty well.
Very nice.
Yeah, I think he got rid of it because it blew the engine, though.
Gotcha.
And it was the inline 5.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of that 4.3 V6. It's an antiquated technology at this point, but they're still. I think they're still making them in different
I wouldn't
vehicles.
be surprised.
And
If you got a platform that works, stick with it.
I think they make an LS version of the 4.3 now, where it's an aluminum V6.
Interesting.
Is what it is, and I don't know what the code is on that. I need to get up on the modern stuff a little bit more. But yeah, I'm with you. I would probably steer them towards a an S-10 or a Colorado or a Ranger.
Yeah.
For a used one. I love my Toyotas. I love my Toyota Tacomas. But the gentleman that was speaking with me about this, he is a little bit shorter than me, so he's like 6'1", 6 foot. Up till the new generation Tacomas, that I don't remember the year they came out, just a couple of years ago. But the last couple generations of Tacomas, I've driven them. Never owned one, but I've driven friends, and they are very cramped interiors.
I've noticed that with a lot of these. I'm a bigger dude.
Yeah.
But it's the height more than anything.
Same here,
You
yeah.
know, that same friend with Jason, he had a Ranger for a short time too. That one had a 3-inch lift on it, but still the interior was just, it was tight. It was a tight truck.
Well, and that's, I guess if someone is bigger, the Dakota is kind of a size that's between the mini trucks and the full-size trucks.
That's what I always noticed, but I noticed way less aftermarket support for that one too.
Exactly. If you're just looking for a daily driver, maybe Dakota wouldn't be a bad way to go. I had a friend several years ago that was looking for a used pickup truck, and he was specifically looking at Toyotas and Rangers, and he was like 6'4", and he got into those and felt very, very cramped. And we found a used Dakota with I think it had the 3.9 V6.
Nice.
And it just fit perfectly, and so he ended up going with that.
I think that's why I always liked that old Dakota we had better than the other ones.
So getting on to the newer vehicles now then. So, we're concurrence that S-10 Ranger could be a good option. Not too old of an S-10 or a Ranger where you get into more of the lemon engines.
Yeah.
Definitely look at something that has got the better, more modern engines in them.
For sure.
Now, I haven't stayed up on what's coming out this year and the next year in the mini truck market as much as I know some of the older stuff. I don't know how much you have either.
Not much. I'm pretty much Jeep exclusive in a lot of that stuff as far as what's out, and I like a lot of the older stuff better.
Exactly.
My personal opinion, I like the look of it, the fit, form, function, and more user friendly in terms of service.
Well, there's that.
Yeah.
And that actually is an interesting point because you and I have another friend that recently bought a Toyota pickup truck to haul his Jeep that's on 1-tons.
It's got to be the same guy I was thinking at the
Yeah,
last.
exactly.
Yeah.
And he purchased the larger one, the Tundra. And the reason he purchased the Tundra is he went online and did a bunch of research as to what is the simplest vehicle available today.
Yeah.
What is, less stuff to break. If he could get crank windows and a vinyl interior he wanted. I'm not sure that's what he ended up with, but he wanted something that was super simple.
Yeah.
And he found a lot of complaints online that the Tundra was antiquated in its technology, and he was like, that's the truck for me right there.
Yeah.
So he went and bought like a 2-year-old Tundra.
Let's say he found even that new of a vehicle with hand crank?
I don't know for sure if it had hand crank windows. It was an example.
I was going to say, that's awesome if he did.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it has hand cranks. I've seen them in the contractor version of the Ford Super Duty. But,
nice. I didn't know that either.
Yeah, that F650 I drove across the country a couple of months ago. That had hand crank windows, and it was a 2016. Awesome. So
nice.
But so let's do that. Let's take a quick break, and
Sounds good. I gotta grab some more water.
You do that, and when we come back, let's delve a little bit further into what are the pros and cons of some of the new options as far as we know at this time.
Sounds good. See you in a bit.
Puppies are cute. Spiders are not. Spiders are creepy and ugly. But what will you do? You will call ABC Home and Commercial Services. The Spider Fighters can service your home for these unwelcome guests. ABC Spider Fighters will provide the solution for your spiders, wasps, box elder bugs, Asian lady beetles, cluster flies, and all your visiting insects. Call now for a prepaid discount. ABC Home and Commercial. The Spider Fighters. 810-794-5678.
And we're back. I am Keith of Thin Line Off-Road, and sitting across from me is Johnny Orange.
Johnny Orange of Johnny Orange.
Johnny Orange of Johnny Orange. Yes, we. All right.
I got to come up with a better one of that.
Yeah, you do. So, before the break, we were talking about the options of newer trucks. We'd kind of gone through the S-10 history briefly, and that's what we said we were going to do is briefly here. But I think now it's time for a good trivia question.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, John. I think I liked our decal challenge we did last time, and I'd like to send out some more of those, so people can show their support for Wheelin Radio. So let's do the same thing that we did for the decal challenge last time, where the first four correct answers on 4x4 talk. Do you want to do 4x4 talk or the Wheelin page?
Let's go with Wheelin.
Let's
switch it up.
Let's switch it up.
Yeah.
So the first four correct answers on the Wheelin page to this trivia question, we're going to mail you a decal.
And that is facebook.com/Wheelin Radio.
Correct. Or they can just go straight to Facebook and just type in Wheelin no G, correct?
Correct.
All right. Okay. So there was, you're a big manual transmission guy, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I'll never own an auto.
Exactly. So, there is 1 year and 1 year only in which you could get this combination of options in the Chevy S-10 line. Specifically in the four-door SUV. Okay, which is the S-10 Blazer and the GMC Jimmy. Okay, so it was the same for both. Same year. There was 1 year that you could get a manual transmission in the four-door SUV. So in the four-door version of the Jimmy and the Blazer, not the two-door version, 1 year and 1 year only, you could get a manual transmission. What year was that? So you guys need to do some research, or you need to ask around. I did check. It is not easily Wikipediable. So if that's a word, Wikipediable.
I don't know.
But
Wikipedia?
Yes.
Wikipedia?
So there was yeah, there you go.
I don't know.
You were a parts guy. You could probably figure out a hack if you went to AutoZone, couldn't you? Just keep asking the guy for clutches from different years. Yeah, there you go.
I mean, it's possible.
All right. So 1 year only that you could get a manual transmission in the four-door S truck, or the four-door S. Actually, that would be correct, because the four-door pickup that came out at the end of the second generation was never available with a manual, which is one of the reasons I never bought one brand new. It's one of the times I got very close to buying a brand new vehicle. And I went in, I said, okay, I want the 02, I want the four-door little truck that they had. I want four-wheel drive, of course, blah, 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 I want all this and that. I said, I want a manual transmission. The guy says, you can't get a manual. I said, well, I can get a manual in the regular cab and the extended cab. Why can't I get it in the four-door? And he said, well, that's just how it orders. He says, you can't get it in the four-door. So there was 1 year only that you could get an S-10 with four doors and a manual transmission.
Interesting.
Or an S truck, and it is the SUV. We're going to give you that it's the Blazer and the Jimmy, but you need to tell us that year. So first four answers, you get Wheelin decals. Back to what we were talking about. Modern options, brand new. A lot of the manufacturers are going to be coming out with new models, or not new models, but new generations of their old popular models for 2020 and 2021. And Kevin had said, or Casey had said, that he was going to be looking to buy next year or maybe the year after. So, of course, we have to speculate a little bit about what's going to be available.
Oh, yeah.
One of the things he said that maybe you know about, maybe you can tell me what it is, because I'm not even sure what it is. He said that's a deal breaker is he likes the current Tacoma, but it's not available with Android Auto. Do you know what that is? So
that when you plug your phone in to the USB port that's part of the vehicle, it pulls up a whole separate user interface. So your Android phone would actually interact with your car and give you just a bunch of different features, options, and applications that kind of cross-communicate with the vehicle in your phone.
And when you're driving down the road, does all of a sudden your car stop and say, sorry, we're updating?
No, but it'll yell at you.
Really?
Yeah, like when you're moving, it won't let you do certain things.
So you've seen this before?
I have. My buddy's Jeep has it. He's got I think it's 2018 Compass. And I plugged it in to charge one day, and this whole menu comes up. I'm like, wait, what is that? I didn't open that. I didn't install that.
Really?
Yeah.
That's weird.
It is. It is.
I mean, I'd heard of like Android-based radios to put in your vehicle, but this is different. This interfaces with the whole vehicle.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it deals, as far as I know, it just deals with the radio, like your GPS, your radio, your phone calls, music controls, things like that.
All right.
I've never fully explored it.
So, and speaking of not fully exploring things, you haven't been driving around this year's model of the mini trucks. I haven't.
Definitely not.
I haven't either. But I know that, in the Colorado, you can get the Colorado, you can get the 02 option with the selectable front and rear lockers, electronic.
Nice.
And you can get it with the diesel engine if you so choose.
Yes.
The larger version, they might be calling it the Z71 again, of the Chevy truck, is got a rear locker, no front locker. And I believe also has a small diesel option, once again, if you so choose.
Yeah.
The Tacoma, you can get with a selectable rear locker. I believe the Tacoma has a slightly larger tire on it, and it's a more conventional sized pickup where you actually get a true 6-foot bed, or at least it looks like a true 6-foot mini truck bed. So, I guess what's important to you, if money's no object, John, and you're going to go out and buy a new mini truck, what do you want in your mini truck?
Me personally, I'd want manual trans. I like the idea of a diesel. Some with tow capacity, off-road capability, big tires.
Unfortunately, I don't think the manual transmission's available in any of them anymore.
I'm out.
Well, I mean, here, let me look it up.
I know it's a disappearing thing anymore, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, I'm looking at right now the second generation. So you could get a 5-speed manual through. It does say. Let me see here. Let me see if it dropped at all.
Probably the combination of stuff I'd want's not available. I know a lot of options and features. They just won't do with a manual transmission, period.
Well, that's one of the things too. Like you said, different options. Just like with that S-10 I looked at years ago, I could get the 2-door with a manual, but I was not allowed to get a 4-door for whatever reason. Me
personally, I want a stick. I would make other compromises just to have a manual transmission.
I know Casey had a JK Wrangler with the 6-speed manual. It was almost identical to the one that I had. Mm-hmm. And so, that's something that, he does drive manual. I don't know. He didn't tell me whether or not that was super important to him. So I'm trying to take a look here at the information about the Canyon and the Colorado ZR2. I'm not seeing. I'm not seeing anything about a manual, but it says they were available all the way through this. So, but I'm gonna bet that you probably can't get it with the diesel. It's probably gonna be like the 4-cylinder option only, 2-wheel drive maybe.
Some stupid combination.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah. I'm not, if you're listening to this and you say, well, wait a minute, the last year of the Colorado with the manual was this, then, let us know.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And, because I'm looking, right here. Okay, here's what I'm reading. It says the base Colorado trim level includes blah, 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 this, and a 6-speed manual transmission. So,
sweet.
But that is in the work truck. Looks like 2-wheel drive. So I don't know if you can get it with a 4x4. You'd probably have to almost go on to like GM's website.
Yeah,
I might do that later and try to spec one out and see if you can get it. Sometimes I do that, just mess around on the manufacturer websites.
I used to do that when I dreamed of having enough money to buy a new truck like that.
Yeah, no kidding.
It quickly got expensive.
So, so for you, man, anything else for you? I mean, let's just say the manual's off the table. I know it's a deal breaker, but the rest of it, if you were looking at a truck,
definitely have to be 4-wheel drive. I mean, without a doubt, it would have to be 4x4. Just where I live, I couldn't really get by without it.
I would agree with you 100% there, of course. Of course, this is Wheelin Radio, so we're talking about wheeling and off-roading. To me, the selectable front and rear lockers in the Chevy
That's a cool option.
Is a very, very cool option.
Yeah.
But with that being said, when I look at a pickup truck, I'm more interested in usability.
Yeah.
And I believe you can only get about a 5-foot bed in that thing.
That's just wrong.
Yeah, where I know with the Tacoma you can get at least a 6-foot bed.
Yeah.
So they'd look goofy with an 8-foot bed. They dropped those options earlier. But
I mean, I'm predominantly a bigger truck guy, anyways. But I mean, if it were small truck, I guess I could make some consolations or something like that.
yeah, that's so yeah, I don't. Oh, here's what we were talking about. Yeah, the Colorado ZR2, and I'm just kind of reading some of the specs on it. I'd read through this earlier, but yeah, there's all sorts of cool options. Comes with 31s. It's got the fender flares, and let's see here. Ooh, you can optional carpet delete.
Huh.
That's this got to be just rubber floor mats. I can't
Probably
imagine
one
that
of
it's
those
just
vinyl
metal
mats
floor.
or
Yeah,
something.
yeah. So that's kind
Although
of
metal would be cool.
Yeah.
Probably extremely loud though.
Yep, electronic locking front and rear differentials. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to find out is if there's an actual, like if you can get it with a true 6-foot bed.
Yeah.
I don't know how important that is to them or not. But for me, that is that would be a deal breaker if the bed was just one of those goofy little beds that I couldn't put anything in.
Yeah.
I prefer an 8-foot bed on my full size trucks.
Yeah. I don't like those trucks with like was it a 4.5 foot bed or 5 foot? Like it's completely useless.
Yeah,
You could move a chair.
Yeah, that was kind of also a deal breaker with me with the 4-door pickup S-10 years ago when I looked at buying one. But at the time, I wasn't hauling around as much stuff, so I didn't see the usefulness of a bigger bed. So yeah, I guess that. Oh, here we go. I finally figured it out. Okay, the ZR2 offers the same amenities. Blah blah blah. The ZR2 model will be available in 2 body configurations: crew cab with a 5-foot bed, or the extended cab with a 6-foot bed. Okay.
It's not as bad.
Well, and that's the same thing I believe with the Tacoma.
Yeah.
I think the Tacoma is the exact same thing, where if you get the crew cab, you get like a 5-foot, and if you get the extended cab, you get the 6-foot bed.
Nice.
So, being a Toyota guy, I like the look a lot better of the Tacoma. I think it's a great looking truck, but with the Tacoma not offering a front locker, at least I don't think they do yet.
Yeah.
I kind of would go for like my ideal, especially if you can order it with a manual, would be the ZR2 diesel manual front and rear lockers.
That would be an awesome truck.
So
that would be a seriously cool truck.
Yeah, I don't know if you can option it out that way.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping that you can, and then maybe in 20 years I can buy a used one.
Yeah, I like that idea. Look to the future. Discounts.
Yeah. So, you got any other thoughts about this? What would you buy for a new truck thing?
I personally, I haven't looked a lot even to see what's out there, so I don't know right now.
Yeah, I was over at a Toyota dealership doing some work yesterday, and they had a desert tan Tacoma with the black fender flares and like the 31 or 32 inch tires, and that looked really sharp.
Nice.
Love the look of that. I've heard that people are really happy with them. I haven't sat in that new generation Tacoma yet, though, so I don't know if the interior is going to be too cramped like the earlier Tacomas were. So. But I really am looking forward to checking out the ZR2 when it hits the market.
For sure.
I think that's going to be a great. I mean, you can order all those different things, but can you get them all in the same package? We don't know right now. So if you can get it, in fact, I think it's not even fully out yet. But if you can get it with a manual, a diesel, and front and rear lockers, Casey, grab that one.
Yeah.
That would be an awesome truck.
Cool. And if you do that, we want pictures.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Post your pictures on 4x4 Talk. Got to do that. So, we haven't done any shout outs in a couple episodes. You want to do some of those, John?
Sure. I don't have any of the names in front of me here, but I can pull those up.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you want to, why don't you pull up 4x4 Talk on your computer? Can you do that quickly?
It's going to be a minute. I just shut her down.
All right. I can pull up mine too, but I'd rather you do it. You're shutting yours back down. Look at this.
Yeah, resetting it.
Oh, okay. Is it like Windows Update? Are you finally
No.
updating to Windows 97?
No, 97. God, 95 Plus just came out. What are you talking about?
95 plus. I haven't heard of that in years.
I don't know if there was a 95 Plus. There was a 98 Plus.
Oh, is that what? Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Then maybe that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah, I've got that.
All right. Yeah, you got
Let's see. Here.
you got 4x4 talk pulled up.
Not quite yet.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'm gonna pull it up too because I'm kind of curious. What's going on there. I haven't been on there in a couple days. I've been out of town and all over the place and just super busy. So, what are you doing to my internet? There we go.
I'm not doing anything, man.
Yeah, I know. This is interesting.
What is going on?
Yeah, mine's doing something weird too.
Mine's opening stuff that I didn't even post.
Okay.
And saying I posted it. And apparently people have looked at it and I don't even know what it is.
All right. Well, I want to do a shout out to John on there. He's showing a Jeep running. It looks like he's got a carburetor on a 4-liter on 4x4 talk. I see a video of that.
I forgot I posted that.
Okay. Yeah, I was making funny. I'm actually not seeing a lot of activity on there since the last time that we did. We'd posted some stuff up about the museum. Looks like Zach. What were you gonna say?
I got one.
What's that?
I want to give a shout out to Riley Winters. I didn't realize you were a listener. I actually met him and sold him the AC compressor off of that Jeep a couple days ago.
Oh, very cool.
I did not realize you were a listener, sir.
Yeah, Riley came out to the museum the other day, too.
Oh, nice.
I think he had heard about it on the podcast here.
Nice.
Came out to the Mora and checked it out and visited for a little while. So
Very cool.
That is a good shout out. Why don't we just leave it with that? I like that. Riley, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
I guess
that worked out for you.
one other thing. Did you get your the hoodie to
I did.
Ryan?
I forgot to get some pictures to him. He and my sister were running out that night to go see a movie.
Okay.
But I will have pictures of that for him.
All right. We need to get those posted up.
Absolutely, yeah.
And we mailed out the box prize to Tony the other day, so he
Nice.
should be receiving that any minute now. Probably by the time this airs, he should have it within over a week at that point.
That works.
So. But yeah, all right, great shout outs there, John. I know that the Twitter, we have not been doing much with that. Got to get back on that. I was thinking this weekend maybe and posting a little bit more. So, what do you think, John? Is this a good time?
Sounds good to me. So thanks for listening and have a good one, everybody.